What up, my beautiful people? It's your boy Trumaine Boucher. Now, welcome to the Hustle and Thrive Academy, the academy dedicated to helping budding entrepreneurs win. Now, in today's video, we'll be discussing how to start a clothing brand in South Africa. And of course, I'll be sharing you guys the supplier plug that you need if you wanted to start a clothing brand in South Africa. Now, if that's something that you might be interested in, please do stick around.
Every day I'm hustling, 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 hustling. Every day I'm hustling.
Now, in order for you to start a brand in South Africa, there's a couple of things or a couple of questions that you need to ask yourself. And the first question will pretty much answer the second question, and the second question will pretty much answer the third question. Now, the first question that you should ask yourself is, who is my customer? Who will I be selling these clothes to? Because once you know who's your customer, you then know the answer to the second question. The second question will be, what type of clothes am I gonna sell? Are you gonna create a cut and sew clothing brand? Basically, a cut and sew clothing brand is a clothing brand where you create the clothes from scratch. Or the second type of clothing brand, which is branding, where you pretty much buy blank clothes and you brand them yourself. About like 60% of most clothing brands are people who are just buying the clothes and branding them. Now, once you've answered like the second question, I'll give the supplier if you want to start a branded business where you just buy blanks and you brand them yourself. This is where you should buy them. It's a plug called Libra Sport. They have good quality. Almost every other influencer that I've helped start a clothing brand, I've actually bought from them. So once you've decided on where to buy your things, which is the supplier that I'll give, the next or the third most important thing will be building the story or building the world around your clothing brand. Now, one of the most important question that you as the brand owner is building is why should people buy these clothes? Which is a question that, if it's rephrased differently, will be, how am I gonna build the brand story? Which pretty much leads us to brand building. One of the most important things that makes us buy into any business, any brand, is the story behind the brand. Just like how like Apple, it sells luxury and also innovation. Just like how Nike sells motivation. Those are the building blocks of any successful business, and that is the branding, the story behind. So the first question is, who am I selling the clothes to? The second question is, okay, now I know who I'm selling the clothes to, what type of clothes should I sell like them? Which is between cut and sew and also plain printed clothing. And now, like, the third and most important step or question is, what's the story behind the brand? What's the story? Like, what's the meat? What's the sustenance behind the brand? And once you know the story, we then get to one of the most important things, that is marketing. Which marketing is a huge segment on its own. But briefly, when you are now approaching marketing, here's what you need to do when you approach marketing. Number one, you are gonna need to start social media accounts. I suggest you start a TikTok and an Instagram. Thirdly, you are gonna create content. Who you're selling you're selling your clothes to, and your brand story will ultimately help you decide on what type of content you should create for your customers. Once you created content, the content looks good and you're getting followers, the next thing will be get your clothes into the relative people that your customers like. For an example, if maybe you were selling a streetwear brand where the story behind your brand is that like you are a hip-hop based brand, approaching people like Nasty C, approaching people like Aries, people who your customers like and the fans that might like your customers. So once you've created content that your customer might like, you're getting followers, then approach influencers. Approaching influencers is pretty much one of the guarantee ways of getting your first customers, because whether you like it or not, you won't make any sales when you first start out your brand up until your brand starts looking legit. And how your brand will look legit is by pretty much having your clothes worn by influencers. They can be as small as influencers that have 10,000 up to 1 million, how many influencers you can basically afford, and how many you can afford, that's totally up to your budget. But what's most important is that they should be influencers who are influential to your customers. It's pointless to work with an influencer who is popular in the fitness niche, kanti your customers are people who are in the business niche. So if you're somebody who's selling maybe to a streetwear, female streetwear audience or customers, then make sure that your influencer matches your customer. And lastly, and what I think is most important is ensuring that your customer experience is good enough to the point where people want to post. You can pretty much do everything right, but the packaging of your clothes, not really paying attention to the customer experience, because one of the most important things that will ultimately have you go viral is people reposting your clothing brand or the unboxing experience. And to ensure that people do that, because number one, it's not guaranteed, but to make sure that people record the unboxings and they post them, is by creating a packaging that's good enough to the point where people want to take pictures of your packaging. Now, I can't really go in depth, but just go on Pinterest and search great or cool clothing brand customer packaging ideas. Printful will give you all of the ideas, and once you've done all of the steps, once you've asked yourself all of these questions, you are on your way to succeed. But again, nothing is guaranteed, and nothing I cannot say you're only gonna you will succeed in 6 months. For some it might take 10 days, for some it might take 6 months, for some it might take a month. So if you follow exactly follow the steps that I've laid out, ask yourself the questions and answer them honestly. Don't be biased towards your brand because it's your brand. So guys, again, it's your boy Trime Boucher, doing what? Helping you guys save money and make money. Peace.